Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is July 15th, 2026. This is the trade I took last night, July 14th at 10 p.m. and I made $1,321.22 across 5 accounts, totaling to $6,606.10. So let's get into it. Now, coming into the new day open, I was leaning more bullish because we left CPI data highs up here. However, the only thing that I was looking for to take us there was this 4-hour gap, 250 points away. So there were no 1 hours that were unmitigated, and it was either that or I wait for a gap to open up. So I waited for a 30-minute gap to open up to take me to this data high. We ended up getting this gap, so I dropped down to the 1-minute time frame, look for a retrace, and then some sort of entry confirmation to take me to this data high level right here. And as you can see, Asia opens and we end up getting our market structure shift right here. However, for me, I didn't take this because the risk to reward just wasn't there. And I figured, okay, I want to target this 4-hour high. It looks way more obvious on the 1 hour. I wanted to target this 1 hour high right here. But going through that data high to me just wasn't worth holding, and I would have been break even at less than 1 hour. It just, to me, wasn't high probability. So if you play this out, we end up taking our data high out right there. I would have been break even, and as you can see, this would have ended up being a break even trade, and this ends up actually being an SMT, which keeps it alive right here. But anyway, that aside, this would have been a break-even trade for me, so that I then figured if we go on to the higher time frames and we get a close above the CPI high, the next obvious draw on liquidity is very clearly that 1 hour high. So we end up getting a 30-minute close above the data high right here, and we end up getting an hourly close above the data high right there. And for me, that's good enough, telling me that we're going to go to this Asia high that filled the new week opening gap. So I then waited for a 30-minute gap to form. We got the 30-minute gap, but in waiting for that, we also got a 1 hour gap. So once that formed, I dropped down to the lower time frame, waited for us to pull back and get some sort of confirmation. So we ended up pulling back into this gap and getting a very quick V-shaped market structure shift, closing above this high right here in the next candle. So for me, that was good enough for me to enter with my break even at the current Asia high, targeting the 1 hour swing that filled the new week opening gap. Super obvious draw on liquidity. And this was a 6.5R trade. Now, it plays out pretty nice up to our break even pretty quick. Go break even, and then it does spend a lot of time chopping around. It got close, pulled back, and then chopped around some more, but you know, overall it did end up hitting, so that's all that matters. But overall, I think it was a good trade. The target above that was the 4-hour swing that we failed to sweep out yesterday, but my piece of the pie, especially a 6.5-hour trade up to this 1 hour, was good enough for me. We also still technically had on the 1 minute part of the new week gap that wasn't filled yet, so I was basically just taking it up to that right over here. So yeah, that's the trade I took today. Pretty simple, not too hard to understand, pretty clear in my opinion. Wasn't really a confusing day, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment them down below, join the Discord, and have a wonderful day.